Hey everybody, Jason here, and welcome to another episode of Driver's Paddock. Today we're at Toronto Motorsports Park, and next to me is a 2022 Rapid Blue Camaro SS1LE. And if you're new to my channel, I actually reviewed two of these, one automatic and one manual, so go check out that video. This video is on a track-prepped, mildly modified SS1LE. Not that the base SS1LE really needs any modifications, but this one has camber plates, has a full exhaust and intake, as well as some lowering springs. So let's take this car out on track to see if these mods make the car better. And let's check out what these Rydanz 315 Chinese tires that are supposedly rivals of the Nankang CRS or the RE71 RS. Let's see if these tires are any good. Without further ado, let's take a closer look at this car before I full send it on track. Let's go. So everybody, here we go. This is the modified Camaro SS1LE. This is our first hot lap, and let's just take a moment to appreciate how good this exhaust sounds. Working up to it, there's a lot of traffic today, but hopefully we'll find some clean laps. Coming up to turn one here, downshift. As you can see, the car is getting really unsettled through the very bumpy turn one, and right off the bat, the lowering springs are not helping the car. The car is on the stock MagneRide controller, but the stock car would never be that upset. Even in turn two over the curb, you can see it's not really settling well. Very bouncy through 2 and 3 as well. The owner says that this car has an extra 40 wheel horsepower. I don't really feel it, but we'll check the data after to see how much faster it is in the straights. Just working up to the car now, feeling it out. Let's see what we can do in our first hot lap. Coming up to the last corner here, committing to the throttle. Again, the exhaust sounds great. And our first lap was a 1:17.7. That's pretty fast. The car is actually really good. Again, be cognizant of the bump in turn one. Same thing, car goes sideways over the bump, but need to commit to the throttle, stabilize the rear end. And again, the stock car would never do that. Same thing over turn 2 and 3. I remember the MagneRide suspension in the stock Camaro SS1LE to really settle in one stroke. It was really good, but again, these springs are not helping. Onto the tires. These are the Chinese Rydanz tires. They're definitely not CRS or RE71 RS level. I compare them sort of to like an 8009 or a RS4. They handle heat pretty well. However, they just don't have that peak grip performance like a CRS or a RE71 RS would. Now coming back to the suspension, just notice how the springs handle the bump here, the final corner, right? So we got upset over the T9 curve, unfortunately. Again, that would never happen in the stock car. This is a 1:17.4 lap. Starting to get more and more confident. We'll soon do a full send lap. So again, managing the throttle, managing the entry speeds a little bit. You know, I had to really brake a little bit earlier and be on the throttle earlier so that the power can settle the rear end over that bump. Same thing here, braking a little bit earlier, but being on power over the curb on turn 2. Downshifting as well there, and then using the throttle to stabilize the rear end as much as I possibly can. So unfortunately, with the suspension setup, I feel like I have to sacrifice some of the entry speeds so I can get on power earlier, again, to settle the rear. just modifying my lines slightly just to avoid the curbs. Not attack them as hard, but just kind of just get my tire on them. Same thing here, even if I just lightly touched the curb there, the car wasn't settled. In this lap, we did a 1:17.3.
Woo! Oh, I love this car. I love this car. Oh, what a good time it is.
Here I do a cool down lap to let the tires recover a little bit so we do a full set lap. Unfortunately, there was a lot of traffic, but here we go.
Yeah, no way we're gonna find a lap here, guys. Yeah, this is not gonna be good for lap times here.
This is actually lap 8, and the tires have dropped off significantly, but we'll try one more time here for a clean lap. Here we go, guys. Full set Camaro SS1LE.
Not bad. 16.9, not bad. Not bad at all. I think there's still more in it. The tires are just overheated. Great car, great car. I love the SS1LE. What a good car.
So everybody, the review of the Camaro SS1LE, and this is of course a modified example. If you want a full review of both an automatic and a manual Camaro SS1LE, I have the full review on my channel now. I also have a review of a lightly modified Camaro SS1LE, and that one has 315 square Nanking exterior, has camber plates, brake pads and fluids, and that is a very fun video to watch as well. So if you're interested in more Camaro content, please go check that out. Now, modified isn't always better. I always say that. When you put on a modification, you always want to test and tune it. And this car is a perfect example of, well, modified isn't always better. Now, let's go modification by modification. First of all, the springs, okay? I find that the car really didn't want to compress, even on the low speed and the high speed stuff. So when you get on the brakes, you really want that front end to load up. When you get on the power, you really want the rear end to squat down. When you turn right, you want the tires to load up to really push them into the ground. And GM really knew what they were doing when they were tuning the Magna Ride suspension. The stock car would never be this unsettled. For example, in turn 1, the car was just completely sideways. I had to really change my driving style to work with the car. And in the high-speed left turn, of course, you know, just barely touching the curb, the car was just so unsettled. The stock car would never do that. The high-speed compression, I really feel like it didn't really want to soak up the bumps. It was so resistant to compression, and when it did, it would rebound you very quickly the other way. So even through the S's, the transitions weren't nearly as good as the stock car. I mean, it looks amazing. The car is lowered, of course, but I would not recommend it. One thing I will say, and this is the owner's next mod, I will report back at another time, but a lot of Camaro owners get the DSC Sport controller, which basically is a plug-and-play controller that allows the owner to adjust the individual low speed, high speed, compression, and rebound. So at a later time, I'll report back. I'm sure it will be better with that, but again, the stock Magnarite suspension is just so good that I wouldn't change a thing. The next thing, this car has a RotoFab cold air intake. It has a Borla attack catback exhaust. It has a Cook's catless headers. And honestly, these are modifications that I would probably do. It sounds great, right? I think it really adds to the experience, makes it a little bit more raw, a little bit more visceral. You just hear a little bit more. And this car is also tuned. And the owner says that it makes a little bit more than 30 to 40 wheel horsepower. The butt dyno tells me that the car feels faster, but I think that's partly due to the exhaust, the noise, that the experience, the visceral experience in itself is improved with the exhaust. But I took a look at the Solo 2 DL data, and both cars hit exactly 190 kilometers an hour. And so somebody might ask why. Well, there's two main reasons. The first reason is because of the suspension, I wasn't as confident on attacking that last curb and getting on the power aggressively. Like in the stock car, I'd have no problem with the stock Magnarite to attack that last curb, take it aggressively and get on the power, throttle steer it a little bit, get close to the wall. But in this car, I rounded out the corner a little bit more, avoided that last curb, and I was more gradual on the power. That's reason number one. Reason number two is because the car was so unsettled in the bumps in turn one, I actually braked a little bit earlier and longer, put the weight on the front of the car, turned in slightly earlier to make sure that I was on power through those bumps so that I could really settle the rear end so that it didn't come out. I'm sure with the same suspension or with the DSC Sport controller, I'm sure I could go 3, 4, maybe 5 kilometers faster, but I'll have to test that at a later time. The next thing would be the Rydanz R23 200 treadwear tires. Honestly, I've already gone faster. I did a 116.3 with Nankang CRS. You can check that video out. In this car, we did a 116.9, but that was on lap 7 or 8. The tires were definitely overheated. But the CRS, there's a significant drop off, right? I know that tire best. They're a really good time attack tire. They warm up very quickly, but you get really just one hot lap. In these tires, the peak grip is not as good as a RE71 RS or a CRS, but they do last a little bit longer. They warm up very quickly. You get, 1 to 3 decent laps, and then there's significant drop off. I would compare them to like a little bit better than an RS4 or an 8009, but again, the peak grip just is not matched in terms of compared to the CRS or the RE71 RS. For all out pace, I would definitely go with the CRS or RE71 RS. Honestly, guys, the Camaro SS1LE doesn't need much, right? Camber bolts and alignments, brake fluid, brake pads. That's really all you need, right? Spend your money on tires, on pads, on track days, and enjoy it for many, many, many years to come. And it's a shame at the time of filming this, these cars are being discontinued, right? GM, you're making a mistake. This is an amazing car. I know the C8 is also amazing, but so is the SS1LE. If you're in the GTA region and you have a ZL1 1LE, I am dying to drive one. Please, if you have one, please reach out. I would love to track review it. I would love to give you my thoughts on that car. Please reach out. This is Driver's Paddock. Thanks for watching. We'll catch you on the next one.